Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripadam Aham Vande Sri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to address the assembled Vaishnavas, the blessings of our seniors. Today's topic is book distribution and integrated preaching strategies. I'm sorry I'm using this mic, but my voice is quite low. Srila Prabhupada has stated in a letter, now tax your brain to create programs for engaging wider and wider classes of the population in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada, as the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, has given us the mandate, a very clear instruction on what he wanted the devotees in ISKCON to do. I'm sure you're all very familiar with the 7 purposes of ISKCON. We just started the book distribution course over there. I'm sorry for making too much noise sometimes. And they're quite enthusiastic crowd. So, Prabhupada created this International Society for Krishna Consciousness for the single and sole purpose of glorifying Krishna through the propagation of the holy name of the Lord. He has fully taken on the mission of Mahaprabhu. Yarade Ketarikaha Krishna Upadesh Amara Jnana Guruhana Tara Edesh. You are all sannyas candidates, and Srila Prabhupada gave sannyas for the purpose of preaching. It was, for the most part, not a cultural sannyas that, okay, at the fag end of life, somebody takes sannyas. But Prabhupada gave sannyas historically in our movement, in our tradition, for the purpose of preaching. And the primary ways how we're preaching Krishna consciousness is by giving people access to the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, by distributing these books, by giving classes from these books, by engaging people in Harinam and Sankirtan, and giving them Krishna Prasadam. So these are the 3 prongs, like in a trishul, in a trident, the 3 prongs that Prabhupada has given us, with which we can fight Maya and distribute Krishna consciousness very widely. Now the topic of the class is integrated preaching strategies. I know many of you are seasoned book distributors and you're all seasoned preachers. That's why you're here. You may think, what is this integration? What does it mean? How can I be integrated? Integrated into what? Because usually after a certain time of being in the movement and after a certain number of years have passed in our own lives, for the most part, we become a little bit comfortable with the way how we live life and how we see the world, and we think that we're pretty much the center, the focus, and everything else is revolving around us. But the concept that I'm trying to get at here is that these strategies, they're integrated, and it means that we integrate ourselves and our endeavors to serve the purposes that Srila Prabhupada wanted us to achieve. Like he has given in the 7 purposes of ISKCON, he has given very clear mandates on what he wanted us to do and how he wanted us to do that. Now a lot of times when we travel and preach and we get to a place, there's different approaches, there's different methodologies, and we have all experimented with these methodologies, I'm sure. That you can come to a place and you have a very clear idea of what it is that you want to do in that place. Has that ever happened to you? You got somewhere and you knew, okay, I'm here and I'm doing my thing because I'm such and such and this is what I do. Why? Because this is who I am and this is what I like. Right? Has this ever happened in your life? Okay, let's admit it. Come on.
All right, I admit.
Yes. Thank you, Maharaj. That thought has crossed my mind a few times. But then, we're just busy and happy doing what we're doing. But in retrospect, when we reflect and we actually analyze and we see, was it what those people needed? Was it actually what was relevant, what was connecting with their situation? A lot of times we have to say, well, I had a good time. But is that the objective? Is the objective having a good time? Or is the objective helping the devotees, the temple, the community, the yatra to actually further their Krishna consciousness and to attract them and to draw them more into the practice of Sankirtan? So, I can only speak from my own personal experiences and from my own mistakes. What I've learned over the years is that what has, for my limited understanding, worked to some extent, is that when I land in a place, it happens before, even when I exchange emails with the people there, I ask the leaders, okay, what's the status quo? How are things going? What's going well? What's not going so well? What would you like me to do when I'm here? Now, I talk with temple presidents quite a bit. And the main complaint that they have about traveling preachers and sannyasis is that they're totally oblivious to the needs and the situation and the problems of the local yatra. That if somebody even suggests a topic or a verse, that the speaker sometimes says, "What? Who do you think I am? You can't order me around. I'm doing what I like to do." And with all due respect, that may work for some. But when we're talking integrated preaching strategies, we're trying to see how does the preaching connect with the book distribution, with the Harinam, with the Prashad distribution, with the follow-up, with the Bhakti Shastri, with the new devotee program, with the householders, with the schools, with the farms. Because honestly speaking, Prabhupada, he was into everything. He wanted it all to happen. Now I know we cannot emphasize everything and we have certain priorities, things that are very dear to us and things that we like doing, so we do them. But to have an integrated approach means we are not diminishing or we are not neglecting other programs or other projects simply because they happen not to be the ones that we favor or that we're so familiar with. Basically, to encourage every person. When I think of sannyas, when I think of sadhu, saintly person, then I think of a person who is really inspiring, who is really encouraging, and is just motivating the people in devotional service from where they are. So, when we study our tradition, we see Mahaprabhu who is traveling all over and preaching Krishna consciousness and sharing the holy name widely. And we see Srila Prabhupada, who left India at the advanced age to go to the West to publish his books and to get them distributed all over the world, creating this international society for Krishna consciousness. We can honestly say that this preaching and book distribution is our family tradition. And if you came in the 70s or in the 80s, that was pretty much the mood that was prevalent. Now nowadays, in a lot of places, it might be something else. It might be different. You may be in a zone, you may be in an area where most of the people have never done book distribution. Now I know it sounds scary, but it's a reality, it's a fact. And you wonder, how will they be able to appreciate what Prabhupada has given and what the purpose of this ISKCON society is if this activity is not made available. Now they're looking to the leadership for inspiration, guidance, and for practical examples. Most people don't listen that well, including myself, but I'm watching very closely. So I'm watching you. And the world is watching you. So we should be very exemplary in our character. Just like I know Pralananda Maharaj, Kavichandra Maharaj, Bhakti Tirtha Swami, Niranjan Maharaj, most of our leaders, most of our senior sannyasis, they were or they still are book distributors. Because that's what Prabhupada was. What did he do? He wrote the books, he published the books, he distributed the books. He brought the books all over the world. And he created an organization, the BBT, to print the books, and ISKCON, to distribute the books and to create communities who will live by these books, by the principles which are enunciated in these books. So, the topic of integrated preaching strategies for me is quite close to my heart, because I've seen a lot of individualism, a lot of segregated units, a lot of camps and groups and isms and schisms that have appeared. And if you walk from Hulargat up to Jogapit, you will see dozens and dozens of little mats with one or two sannyasis and a few widows. And you wonder, what went wrong? If you look at the great history of the great Gaudiya Math, what went wrong? Now, we should study history and see what works and what doesn't work, so we are not making the same mistakes that others have already made. Because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he gave a very clear instruction to form a governing body and to organize preaching conjointly. But because this order was disrespected, even though there were great scholars, great saints, and great preachers, it fell apart. Now, honestly speaking, I'm traveling a bit, and I'm a bit apprehensive when I see how much individual agendas and how much doing my own thing that has become en vogue, that has become in our movement. Because people think that that's the only way how you can succeed. You can't be a follower and be successful. You have to be an innovator. You have to do your own thing. And then you can stand out and become successful. But I don't subscribe to that idea, because I feel that we have seen people who were taller and stronger and more empowered than most of us fail at this attempt. Srila Prabhupada said that I have not given you anything new. I have simply come to repeat the message of my Guru Maharaj. I'm a simple follower of the Parampara. And he was always in this very humble and meek mood. Now, he preached Krishna consciousness according to time, place, and circumstance, and he made it accessible to the people according to their ability. But he never compromised in his principles. So, you are on the verge of taking sannyas, or in the process of taking sannyas. People are looking towards you as role models, as examples. They will listen to some extent, but they will mainly watch. And whatever it is that you're doing, you can be for sure that people will copy you, and they will do that. Now, that can be either very scary, or that can be very inspiring. It all depends on how it works. So, just like many of us thought that if we just copy our Diksha Guru, we will be all right. But we didn't understand that you can't copy and paste. You can't just walk in the shoes of somebody else. You have to imbibe their mood, you have to imbibe their spirit, and then apply it in your life, and then be authentic, and live your life. But take that spirit, that mood, and carry it with you. But if you try to wear the same clothes, and do the same things, and sing the same way, and walk the same way, it just becomes artificial. It becomes very meaningless. So, communication is a main area of concern. And communication goes both ways. We have one mouth and two ears, so we should listen twice as much as we speak. Now that's easy for me to say because I have the microphone. But I have seen, especially with leaders, people want to be heard and people want to be validated. If you just take your time when you land in a place to sit down with the leader or with the leaders and to just hear them out. Okay, what is it that's going on here? And how do I think? How do you think that I can help, that I can benefit you in your situation? You'll be surprised how much people open up, how much people are ready to accept you and to embrace what you got to tell them and what you got to offer to them. Because people are tired of having somebody who's a tyrant who just comes in and tells them, do this, don't do that, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. You know, everybody has got enough grief in their life. I don't know about you, but I got enough grief in my life. I don't need more grief from other people. And if somebody looks like grief, if somebody looks like trouble, you just fade him out. You just make him part of the scenery, you know? You just block out the noise. It just doesn't even penetrate. It doesn't even commute anymore. Now, I know it sounds sad, but just because somebody has a position or a title or a stature or a dress, it doesn't mean that automatically people will give you their hearts and they will listen to you and follow what you have got to tell to them. We have to earn the trust of the people we're preaching to. And that means coming down from the high horse or from whatever position we are and walking with the people and listening to their concerns. When Sanatana Goswami lived in Vrindavan, he was so deeply concerned for the welfare and the well-being of all the Brijbasis. He asked, how are the cows, how are the crops, did your daughter get married, how are things in the family? He really listened and interacted with the people there. That when he died, most of the men shaved their heads because they considered him family. And when a member of the family dies, then you shave your head. So they thought he's one of ours. Why? Because he had touched their hearts. In the same way Prabhupada, he touched people's hearts, he captured them. You never hear Prabhupada saying, oh, I'm a sannyasi, I'm the boss, and therefore you have to obey, you have to follow what I say. Therefore you have to believe, because what I say is true. No, Prabhupada saw himself as a humble, as a simple instrument of mercy and compassion to give the instruction of his spiritual master. Because communication is the first part towards cooperation. If we're talking synergy, we're talking teamwork. We're talking interdependence. Just like book distribution. If you don't have books, you can't distribute the books. So many places, they don't even have books. I'm sure you've been in places and you've asked, okay, where are the books? I'd like to go out. Or you want to give a lecture and there's no books. Have you ever encountered this situation? I know it's quite incomprehensible. It's quite a shocking scenario. You feel like this is sacrilegious. Like, what's going on here? You feel like really bad. But it has happened in so many places. There is no book room. There are no books. And we have faced situations where there are no devotees. Or there is no one to cook prasadam. So it's interdependence. We're interdependent. Like in a society. Integration means we don't see ourselves as aloof, as separate. We see ourselves as part of a whole, of an organism. Just like you take the hand. Now there's 5 fingers. Now each and every one of these fingers, they can be broken individually. But if you form a fist, it cannot be broken. And the hand is serving the body. So even though the head is the most important part, if there is no legs, if there is no arms, if there is no stomach, then the head will not be very happy for a long time. Just like in our movement, for instance. A lot of preachers are worried. Where will the resources come from? I got so many ideas, I got so many projects, I have so many plans, so many things I want to do. But there is no money to do all those things, right? Has this thought ever crossed your mind? Unlimited plans, but very limited resources. Huh? But if we actually allow our communities to develop in a holistic, in a sustainable way, there will be ample resources. Because if you look at the Ishavasyan principle, or at the Om Purnam invocation of Ishopanishad, there is nothing lacking in this world. This world is complete. Krishna has given everything. So, if we are simply seeing the role of the preacher, the role of the sannyasi, the role of the book distributor as a guide, as a mentor, as an example, a role model for how to practice and how to distribute Krishna consciousness to others, people will follow your example, they will follow your lead. Now I know most of you are physically older and you cannot go out on the street that much, but still the example counts. If we see sannyasis even who go out once a year, it's a great example. It gives a great inspiration to the rank and file devotees. Just like if the President of the United States flies to the Iraq and he goes on the army base and he puts on the jacket and he's with the boys and he's out there and he watches them do something, one commando or something. People feel great encouragement. They feel, yes, this person is leading on the front lines. What I've also seen that really makes a difference is if you give a class, most of you are giving regularly classes and you're giving Sunday feast programs and you're giving seminars, just put a table there with the full set or a table there with books and see what it does. After the program you talk about the books. I was in Pune, gave a program and sold 7 sets. 4 Srimad Bhagavatam and 3 Chaitanya Charitamrita sets. Like that. 7 sets. Now if you go out on the streets, how many of you have sold 7 sets in 1 hour? Probably nobody. Vaisheshika Prabhu gave a program in Washington DC. I think they sold about 35 or 40 sets. Like this. Just after the program. You just ask people. You'll be surprised. I've done a survey. Less than 10% of our members have a full set of Prabhupada's books. Less than 10% of the people who consider themselves members of ISKCON have read all of Prabhupada's books. Can you believe that? That's shocking. To me, that's shocking. I mean, Prabhupada sacrificed his life to give us these books. These books are so inexpensive. They're priceless, but materially speaking, they're so inexpensive. And still, even our own people don't have them. Because either they don't feel that they're relevant, they haven't developed taste, they haven't really learned how to study, nobody has asked them to take the books. It's just, they're not connected to it. So, I personally, from my own self, make it a point that wherever I go, I carry books with me. I know you all travel regularly, far and wide. I've just been all over India visiting holy places, Gaya, Bodh Gaya, Varanasi, Rishikesh, Hampi, Ahobilam, Tirupati, Udupi, Jagannath Puri. And wherever I went, I just carried a bag with books. And there's delays, not just in India, everywhere. You travel with planes, you travel with buses, there's delays. So what do? Either you get upset, or you just start distributing books. Have you ever tried it? And it's so easy, especially in India. Especially if you're saffron cloth and you're, sadhu. So what do? You go up to people and you say, Hare Krishna!
Hare Krishna!
And what do the people say? Hare Krishna! And they start smiling. And then you put the book in their hand. And then you say, this book is about Krishna. Do you like Krishna? And you'll be surprised, 95% of the people in India will say, I love Krishna. Because Krishna is the hero. Krishna is, he's in. He's the most popular of all the gods. So then I say, can you please give a donation for Krishna? Krishna Seva. Dana Patra hai. And nobody will refuse. They may give you 10 rupees, they may give you 100. I had many people give me 500 rupees for one small book. A 10 rupee book. So if you have worries, where will my travel money come from? Where will all my expenses be paid? Will this temple give? Will that one give? Don't worry about it. I've given you the very simple peace of mind formula. Liberates you from all fears and anxieties of travel expenses. Carry 10 small books with you and 1 Bhagavad Gita wherever you go. I was standing in line in Mumbai airport to board a plane. One businessman from America, he looked at me and he said, "Are you studying to be a monk?" And I said, I'm trying. Since 27 years I'm trying to be a monk. So he said, "Oh, that's very nice." He liked that because I was kind of honest. And so boom, I gave him the Bhagavad Gita. That's just 2 minutes before boarding. And he says, "Wow, this is nice. Can I give you something?" I said, "Usually we don't take anything, but for you I make an exception." He said, "What can I give you?" I said, "People give 500 or 1,000. He gave me 1,000 rupees. It was a 20-second sale. You're traveling, you got people next to you. You just look around. Whoever smiles at you, give them a book. Whoever looks the other way, let them be. Don't worry about them. There's 7 billion people on the planet. There's enough. So whoever is interested, is inspired, you deal with them. Same thing in the temples. Don't go after the people who don't want to have anything to do with you. Find out what are the MLS most likely to succeed. Just like on the battlefield. They see who still has a head, Those guys who are missing the head, it's kind of difficult, If a guy's a little bit injured, okay, you can help him. But if somebody's gone, he's gone. So, what are the places that are most likely to succeed? In your areas where you are preaching. Instead of focusing on the problems and instead of focusing on the things that are going wrong, fan the spark. See where there is opportunity and develop it and establish some role models, something that is working, and nothing is more convincing than success. Others can copy that. Others can follow that example. Our society has moved from being temple-based to being congregation-based. They are like temples, like in America, there's many temples. In Europe, where there's hardly anybody living in the temple. But there's hundreds and hundreds of devotees, full-time devotees, living in the congregation, practicing at home, having jobs and families. Now, what can we do to empower them to turn these devotees from being spectators of the Sankirtan into participators? What can we do to boost their levels of confidence, to take them out on the street? So what I've seen, what really works well, is a monthly Sankirtan festival, where once a month you gather everybody together, or on a Saturday or on a Sunday, and you just go out together and you do Harinam, because everybody loves to go on Harinam, right? Do you like to go on Harinam?
Yes.
Thank you for your great audience participation, for being such a great class. If you like going on Harinam, everybody will like what you like. Because honestly speaking, it is whatever you want it to be. So if you're inspired, everybody will follow your lead. But if you're like, I don't know, I got so much work to do, an email and this and that, and go on Sankirtan, go on Harinam Saturdays, take some books with you, see the magic, see what it's like. You will be surprised. Because Prabhupada has given us the magic formula. This really works. You just go out and you chant. And then people become attracted and they just gather around. And then 2 or 3 people just go around and give people books. And people ask, what is this? They say, well, this is this, This is what it is. If people see you having a good time in Krishna consciousness, they see you really absorbed, they will take to it. So, we want you to become AAA Swamis. You're going to be Tridandi Goswamis. So there's the AAA. What does the AAA stand for? You have a AAA rating. Number 1, A means always remember Krishna and never forget Him. It's about Krishna. It's not about us. It's not us. It's not about us. We're not rock stars. It's not that people are into us and we got to have a fan page and a web page and a Facebook and a this and a that and a blog and 10 cameras and, It's not a personality cult. Prabhupada established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and it was about Krishna. It was about giving people the message of Bhagavad Gita, the message of Lord Krishna. Krishna was in the center. Always remembering Krishna and never forgetting Him. And number 2, the other A, be available. Be accessible. Don't shut yourself off. Don't become aloof. Because of age, because of position, because of whatever reason. Don't take it as an excuse to distance yourself from the rank and file devotees. I have studied Prabhupada's life, and I've seen that Prabhupada, he was available. His door was open. He had darshan. People could come in and they could hear him speak and they could interact and they could ask questions. Sometimes people are accessible but they're not available. You know what I mean? They're there physically, but they're not really available because their mind is somewhere else. They're taken up with too much other stuff. So I see it as an integral part of the success of a preacher to actually be accessible and to be available. And number 3, A for me means ABS, always better service. Try to improve. How can I serve you? If you just ask that question, any place you come, people will love you. They will want you back. They will fight to get you back. Why? Because you have asked the magic question. How can I serve you? What can I do to make your life better? There's a lot of topics on my list, but I'm not sure how we should play this. Should we do questions and answers, or should we get into some...
I think questions and answers is good.
Okay. Any questions? Yes, Hare Krishna, and then Prabhupada.
Sometimes, in some places, it's clash among the devotees that you just mentioned. They want to discover other meaning for increasing income of Lakshmi or devotee.
They do not want.
You can understand. I'm supposed to be. They don't want me. If I preach like this, book distribution, especially based on my experience, they don't really accept the fact that this is the formula. So how to put things in such a way that you continue to go there even if they don't like you because they have other program.
Sure. What I do in this situation is, first of all, I try to put myself in their shoes and see what's their situation, If it's just a regular place like anywhere else, and people are just basically not really engaged in Sankirtan. I have to honestly admit, a lot of our centers are inactive what Sankirtan is concerned. Whether it be Harinam, whether it be book distribution, whether it be practical outreach. They're inactive. So how to get them from inactive into active mode? To come and to impose something is usually not working. Because people see you as an intruder, that trust is not developed. We want to get to love and trust, but we forget that first comes communication and then comes cooperation and then comes love and trust. We want to immediately jump to the you should trust me. Trust me. Why should I trust you? Oh, I'm a senior devotee. I'm a sannyasi. Right? Isn't that what the logic is? But that level of trust is not always there. We have to earn that trust. So how do you do it? Sometimes you just have to see what's relevant to them and you do that. To give you an example. You're very good in doing kirtan. So If you want to give seminar or you want to take people on book distribution, initially they may be a little apprehensive. So then just tell them, look, these are the 5 things that I really like to do. You choose any one of them, and we'll start with that. Have you tried like that? And there's always something that people like. Because if you just come there and say, this is my program, and this is what we're doing now, it may work in some places, but in some places it may not work. You know, cultural conditioning is different. What works in India may not work in Italy. What works in Africa may not work in North America. Prabhupada was very concerned to make Krishna consciousness accessible to the local people in the way that they can appreciate it. So just try to give them something. And if they see your sincerity, your enthusiasm, and as you said, sometimes you just have to come by a couple of times. It just doesn't happen on the first visit. People don't just warm up to you on the first, time that you come by. In the 90s, when I was the Minister of Book Distribution, I was traveling to every center practically in Europe twice a year. And I could see how after a couple of years, after 2 or 3 years, people were really starting to opening up. They were really starting to, look forward to, and there was exchanges and appreciation. But it took some time. It wasn't just like, boom, okay, you're here, and it's happening. It took some time for them to. So be ready to invest that time. It takes 7 years to grow. It takes 7 years before a coconut tree gives fruit. It takes 10 years before an olive tree gives fruit. You got to have some time. But some places or some people are unreasonable. And you feel like you're wasting your time. You feel like it's not doing any good to them and it's not doing any good to you. So then, if out of the greatness and magnitude of your heart you can continue going there, fine. But I would suggest that you focus your energy. You may still go there, but you focus your energy and your main thrust on the most likely to succeed, and on the places and on the people which show some promising results and cooperation. There's no use getting frustrated and beating your head against the wall. Because some people will say yes, 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 but inside and in their mentality you can see that they actually mean no, no, no. And even though they may invite you, they may pay your ticket, but nothing happens, nothing moves. So work with the people who are ready to learn and ready to actually take you seriously. Prabhupada? Prabhu?
I'm just trying to, it seems like you're talking in 2 vectors, sort of. On the one hand, this idea of integration and taking a very flexible position. When you get to a place, you're ready to adjust the entire approach according to the local needs and what's relevant to a particular community. But then on the other hand, you're not at all very properly emphasizing that all preaching we shouldn't leave aside the book distribution as the forefront or the what we call the vanguard, the essence of what we're doing. So on one hand, you come to a place and it's about book distribution, but on the other hand, you come to a place and it's about what do they need, what's relevant to them. So I know there's one specific example.
It sounds like a contradiction, I know. It's like a Chintya Beta Beta Tattva.
In New York, there were 2 leaders, and one was emphasizing book distribution, and one was emphasizing more of a liberal approach, although he used to be one of our great book distributors. So, I think so.
Yeah, like Tamal Krishna Maharaj and Vishnu Jan Maharaj, It may seem that they were contradictory, but they were complementing. And those who could understand it and who had the vision and the broad-mindedness, they could see that they complement each other. And even though some things were totally opposite, just like in a good meal, you have sweet, but you also have bitter. There's conflicting, there's contradictory rasas, but taken together, it can be something very nice, something very balanced. So, usually, maturity means balance between courage and consideration. A lot of times we take sannyas to be just courage. But on the consideration part, we're not so strong. We're not so considerate because it's what I want it to be or what I think it is. But if we just become considerate without the courage, then that also doesn't work. So we're not just going out, to please the public. We have been given a mandate, and it is expected of us to carry out that mandate. It's like when Prabhupada went around and we just study his books and hear his classes, how he preached and how he organized the society. He was very firm in the way how he wanted things to be established and what were the main core activities and how he wanted things to be run. At the same time, he allowed local places to have their autonomy. So, if that trust is there, if people have that faith in you, they will follow your guidance, your spiritual leadership. And whatever it is that you're inspiring in them and that you're asking of them, they will be ready to do it because they trust you. Initially, it may be a little artificial. It may look like they're just acting on it, but it's not really from the heart. They haven't really bought into it. But you'd be surprised once people actually start going on Harinam, once people actually start giving out books, once they actually get a taste for preaching. They become on fire. Have you ever seen new people in the congregation who just somehow, they somehow get exposed to the preaching experience and they just get completely on fire with this enthusiasm for preaching? I mean, we have all seen it happen, right? And then you're dealing with a lot of devotees who have been around for a long time and they're kind of settled in their own ways, and it's comfort zones and so many duties and so many ideas. So how to deal with all these different scenarios and all these different personalities without pushing people too much or not demanding anything of them? That requires maturity. That requires a selfless service attitude. So last time when we spoke, when we had this little workshop here, spoke about authenticity, selfless service, and introspection. And for me, personally speaking, a preacher or a sannyasi, these are main character qualities that are daily revisited. Am I authentic? Am I introspective? Any other questions? Yes.
I would be interested to know if any changes have taken place over the recent years in how to distribute books, because it seems that nothing's changed in the last 45 years in regards to giving books to...
In regards to?
In regards to giving books out to the masses of people. Is it dependent on the individual devotee still going out in the street?
To the greatest extent, yes. I mean, some people have started distributing books through other channels, what formerly wasn't there so much. Like in India, you have sponsorships. We have the Motel Gita project. You have free books to prisons and schools. You have Bhagavad Gita contests. These are things that in the 70s and 80s were not so much prevalent. E-book distribution is just about on the verge of going viral, of becoming a big thing, distribution of books through the web, mail order like that. But for the most part, I'd say 80 to 90% of our bulk distribution still happens one-on-one, on the street, door-to-door, good old-fashioned Sankirtan, or with Harinam. It's what the Hare Krishna movement is known for. It works, and it can be done anywhere. But this is not to disregard that there are vast different methodologies and techniques that can be used to distribute books. Like I just heard about one group who did book distribution at the Kumbh Mela. And how they did it was they built dioramas, clay dioramas. And they charged 10 rupee entrance fee, and everybody who went to see the diorama got a book. And thousands of books were distributed. Now you think, wow, what a business mind, what an idea. Yeah. So, Prabhupada wanted our ingenuity. He wanted to have each and every one contribute their talent and their unique experience and vision on how to enhance book distribution. Like when they had the library party, giving books into the universities. This hasn't been done since the 70s and early 80s. No one has done this. Very few countries have the books in the bookstores. I was just now all over India. The bookstores want our books. But maybe you've got to put a price on it, you've got to have a special edition, something, Janaran Prabhu. Does that satisfy your question?
What would you, let's say you come to a place and the majority of the devotees there, they are very enthusiastic in distributing their own Guru Maharaj's books, and Srila Prabhupada's books. What would you do in that situation so as to encourage them, tell them the importance more of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, not to discourage them what they're doing, because practically speaking, we should distribute Prabhupada's books first.
Sure.
But because they're Guru Maharaj's books, I've seen it.
Mostly they're just not so trained. They're just not trained. They haven't properly been educated. They haven't been taught. They're raw, they're young, they're enthusiastic. They think, I'm a real follower of my Guru Maharaj, so I just sell my Guru Maharaj's books. And nobody really taught them. Nobody told them that, hey, you're an ISKCON. These are Prabhupada's books. And this is how the game works. So what you do is, instead of dealing with each and one of them on an individual basis, you just look who is their temple president, who is their authority, or even who is their spiritual master. And you talk with them. And most likely, they understand. But they just have not communicated it properly to the rank and file, to the people. But if the problem is in the upper echelon, then you may not have that much of a chance of influencing people, from the bottom up, because it will just not happen, because they get a different signal from above. There's different priorities. So you can only do what you can do. You don't want to create enemies, and scream and rant and shout. The world is a big place. And there's a lot of people and a lot of issues and a lot of things that you can't change. You may not like it, but you have to see, what is my circle of influence? Like right now, in my life, my circle of influence is here. It's me. And sometimes I'm even having a hard time to reach myself. It's scary, but... So, in a classroom, you have this environment. So when you go to a temple, you have to see who are the people who are listening to me, who I can reach. Like that's what the scary part is. Like you see sometimes, I ask always in my seminars, senior devotees, okay, who are your friends? Who are your mentors? Who are your guides? Who are the people who you reveal your heart to? And people go like, whoa, my Diksha Guru. Okay, how often do you do that with your Diksha Guru? When was the last time? Well, that was like 8 years ago, So, like here we're talking strategy. If this would be a business corporation and we would talk strategy, we would create a think tank. These people will be together on email communication, on Skype conference calls at least once a week to discuss how can we do this, what works, what doesn't work, how can we develop this, make plans, find, success stories. Energy flows where attention goes. If we give something attention, the energy will flow there. It's a natural fact. So if we give attention to the preaching and to the book distribution, all of a sudden the energy, the resources, the manpower, everything will manifest. Just like in ISKCON of Silicon Valley, Vaisheshika Prabhu's place. They don't have one brahmachari living in the temple. But when they go out, there is 300 to 500 people who go out to distribute books. And they're the number 2 temple in North America. So it's possible. But we have to be able to adjust and maybe change our paradigm. But usually, most devotees understand if you just tell them, look, this is Prabhupada's movement, so we should distribute Prabhupada's books. It's very nice that your Guru Maharaj has also books. These are for an internal audience, for the most part. If it's a bridge book, an introductory book, nice. But the bridge is only good if you actually walk over the bridge and you reach on the other side. Otherwise, there's no use to a bridge. So if you give an introductory book together with Bhagavad Gita or one of Prabhupada's books, fine. But if you only do this, there's not really that much substance there. And you see whether they can accept and understand this point. But usually they can, because people are reading Prabhupada's books and, they know this. They just think that I will get more mercy if I sell my Guru Maharaj's books than when I sell Prabhupada's books. And you tell them, you know that the grandfather is more merciful than the father? Do you know that? If you really want to get special blessings, you please grandfather. And then father will also be pleased automatically. Don't worry. Like that. So, I know some of you are already publishing and writing or thinking about writing or doing this or doing that. And I don't want to discourage anybody because we all have our developments, and the things that we think that we need to do. But Prabhupada's books are the law books for the next 10,000 years. Somebody just reads one shloka, just reads one line, one word, this can change a person's life. They just understand one shloka from Bhagavad Gita, it can totally change their perception of reality and save their existence. That's why we should give people Prabhupada's books. Any other questions or points or topics of discussion? Yes?
Will you explain some point about the follow-up of this book distribution?
Yes, thank you. Follow-up for book distribution. It's not hit and run. We don't just sell books and then that's it. Okay, take it, give me your money, get lost. But people are interested and you are meeting people who come to programs, so they're already interested. So you make sure that their name is being taken, it's being kept in a database, that they're getting invitations for seminars and programs. Just make sure that this is happening. There's a regular system. Just now in Akadundubi Prabhu, who is giving the seminar workshop and follow-up in the other side classroom. And there is a student handbook, which I can give you an electronic copy if you like. Some of you have done this course on book distribution. There's entire parts about follow-up. The main thing is to see that we want these people actually to change their lives. And for that they need continuous association with devotees. They need continuous engagement in devotional service. So, follow-up means they visit us, we visit them, study groups, study guides, courses, sangha, regular chanting, till they come to the point of initiation and then they carry on as full-fledged devotees. That should be the goal. You see, when I go out on book distribution, my goal is not to distribute a few books. When I go out on book distribution, my goal is that every person who I meet, I want to leave that person with a good impression. And I try to give something to everybody. Whether it be a smile or a few nice words or a book, or just try to give something to everybody you meet. And we have seen that temples where this follow-up is being practiced, a lot of positive results are coming. A lot of people are coming forward to participate in Krishna consciousness. So follow-up should never be neglected. It's like a farmer, It's not that you just plow the land and sow the seeds. You also have to harvest. If you don't harvest, you're not going to be a very successful farmer. So we can't say, I'm too busy distributing, I don't have time for cultivation. Or I only want to pick the fruits, but I will not invest any energy in putting out seeds and in cultivation. It has to be done in a holistic way. Now sometimes you do all the work and somebody else gets the benefit. Is that okay with you? Yeah. You're selfless. Sometimes you do all the work, you do all the preaching, and then the guy goes and he joins, like we have Germans joining in New Zealand. And we have Russians joining in Germany, and in America. Now, they have done all the preaching and all the hard work there in Russia or in the homeland, but the people join somewhere else. But for us, we should be detached. We can't say, this person is my guy because I cultivated him. I saw him the first time when he came to the Sunday feast. I own him. And later on, this mentality carries on. He's my contact. He's my donor. He's my disciple. Well, this is your ahankar. And it will be a great cause of frustration and lamentation to you. A Brahman is magnanimous, selfless. Just look at Radhashyam Prabhu. He makes hundreds of devotees. And he just sends them off as batches, Okay, you need devotees, how many you want? 20, 30? Okay, here, take. Okay, here, you want devotees? Okay, here, take. He said, my goal is to make, what did he say, 500 or how many? At least 500 brahmacharis for all the temples in India. And give batches of 20 or 30 to every center. Now he's building a huge project in Pune, but he's not worried. What about my place? What about my donors? What about my temple? What about my money? Because the more he gives, the more he gets. Krishna is just pouring it in by the truckloads. So this abundance mentality is something that I see as something very important. Because you're sannyasis. You're supposed to be detached. You shouldn't think, oh, my project, my man, my temple, my zone. It's totally opposite. It's totally contradictory to the whole concept, to the whole idea of sannyas. At least in the way how I understand it. So, any other topics? Yes, Prabhu.
You are talking about book distribution. Nowadays, in computer age, practically everybody having maximum, at least devotees,
yes.
Who is connected with devotees and somehow. So they are carrying their laptop and Vedavesh. So therefore, he spoke that some temples there is no book distribution practically, but many people they read Prabhupada books.
Sure, but even in place.
Okay, so how you balance it? Book distribution is Prabhupada given more very important, most important than book distribution. So nowadays time has changed.
No, the time has not changed. I mean, the clock is ticking, so in that way it's not the same time anymore. But things are still the same. If you go anywhere in the world, people still read books and newspapers and magazines. The reading is still happening. It may be in the form of SMS or emails or on the web, but people are still reading. And books are more prevalent than ever. So, it's not that the books now have become secondary, because now people are more into movies or into music or whatnot. The thoughtful class of men are always reading books. So these are the textbooks. Textbooks means this is serious, this is substance. We should really bend our mind around this and read Prabhupada's books on a daily basis. Because if we're not doing it, how can we ask other people to do it? Achar and Prachar. Gopi Pranadana Prabhu had this mantra on his desk in Govardhan, which said that when the inside and the outside become the same, that's when real preaching starts to happen. Till then, close the door and sit down and focus on your development. Now he was very active preacher, but at the same time he was very serious sadhaka. Now I'm not making any complaints or any accusations, but I have talked with many devotees from top to bottom, from left to right. And Prabhupada said, my only criticism to my disciples and followers is that they do not read my books enough. So when people see you reading, when they see the sannyasis, the leaders, the preachers, when they see them reading, not just work, but they see you reading, then they feel like, wow, okay, I should be doing this also. If they see you work, then they will also get into work more. So, because people follow example. And even though the times are changing and the mediums are slightly changing, now we have e-books and we have different form of electronic media. The book as such has not lost its importance or its value. It is still the most important way to reach people. Janardhan Prabhu?
Do you see a time will change that no more books like this? We will be just distributing electronically in the streets?
I don't think so.
It will always be there.
Always be there. Because it's just a whole different energy, you know. If I pick up a book and I read down the book and I turn the pages, it's just, even I have my e-reader, you know. I know most of you have your e-readers. Who feels it's the same thing? Same thing. E-reader or book?
I've seen some sannyasis, they give in class and then iPad, and it doesn't look very.
Whatever works, you know. Just be authentic. If it's you, it's you. You know, whatever works.
But they're the ones who encourage people about the real. What is the book?
Maybe they have a commission from Apple computers, you know. Maybe it's product placement.
It's the same word, but that's it.
Huh?
It's the same word whether it's on a page or not.
Yeah, it's the same whether it's on a page or it's in an electronic media.
If people all see like that, then how will I buy the book? If they're preaching to thousands of people on an iPad in their hand,
So tell them the electronic.
that's okay, but we're trying to encourage them to buy the book.
Why?
Pick a rate.
That's why we look at Krishna consciousness.
I don't want to create any new controversy or dichotomy here with different factions and camps and arguments and websites and Tarko Pratishta, Shrutayo Vibhinna. But, you know, we may have our own personal preferences, what is more practical to us. Like I traveled all around India and it was not practical to carry a big rucksack with full set. So I just carry my e-reader and my folio. But when I sit down in a temple room, I like to get the Bhagavatam and read from the Bhagavatam and not say, okay, I'm taking out my e-reader and I show people that I also have an iPad because now I'm on sannyas list, so that means I have to have an iPad because if I don't have an iPad, I'm not on sannyas list, you know. I mean, it's just a point, you know, because the ornaments of a devotee are not his electronic toys, but Titikshava Karunika Surida Sarvadehinam Majata Shatra Shanta Sarava Sadhubhushana. Our ornaments should be our character, our good qualities, not because people think, oh, in India gold is nice, so I should wear a gold watch and I should wear a gold pen, because that will show to people that we are very bona fide. We're very authorized because you can take us seriously. You can invest your money with us because... So it's not about the externals. We're practical. Like some people don't like to carry something so bulky like that. But then at the same time, we have to see what is actually connecting for the people. A lot of people, you even tell them web pages and email and this and that, and they just don't want to deal with that. They just want to have a book. They want to have something. You know, I was now in India, all over India. I was up on Ugra Stamba in Ahobilam. How many of you have been in Ahobilam? Beautiful place, Lord Nishingadev's place. In Ugra Stamba, it's a big, huge rock. It's like a massive column. And I just up there and distributing books, you know. Hello, welcome, you made it to the top. Hare Krishna, congratulations. You survived. How is your karma? Very good, you're still alive. Here, boom, take a book. Now, if I would given them CD, you know, I just don't feel it's appropriate. But if you're in a college and you're dealing with IT grads and MBAs, and you have, you know, a cool website or a cool CD, they will really appreciate that. They will also go for the book. But for the most common folks, books is still the medium, and it will stay to be the medium. Any other questions? Any other topics you'd like? Yes?
You were just, in the beginning, you were talking about how you have to pick up the mood of the temple and the leaders and integrate in that way, which I appreciate hearing that. Because I noticed also you were a little bit heavy on the sense that sannyasis do this and do that. But in retrospect, I would say the sannyas ashram has changed a lot since the beginning of the day. I just wanted to make this point that people may have some objections to sannyasis coming in and doing whatever they do, but at the same time, they're doing it much better than they did before.
Yeah. It's a learning curve. It's work in progress. What I'm saying is, it's not about us just having a good time being preachers and doing what we're doing. That also works. But if you can actually be considerate, be kind, and see what it is that these people need right now, and then give them Krishna consciousness in the context, in a way that they can relate to, you'll be much more effective. When Prabhupada came to America, he sat in Butler, Pennsylvania for 5 months, just studying the American people. How they interact, how they work, what is their mindset. He wrote a letter to one of his acquaintances in India, and he said, "Tonight I will go and I will see Indian dance performance. Now I have no interest in seeing a woman dance. I have not seen Indian dance in 40 years, and I'm a sannyasi. But I'm going there for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, I want to see how do the American people appreciate our Indian culture. And number 2, I want to find out what are the social interactions, how do the people relate with each other. What is the hospitality? How do they invite, how do they meet and greet, how do they serve the food, how do they do these things? Because Vrindavan and Bengal is different to America. If you go to Japan, the culture is different. If you go to Russia, the culture is different. So I have seen personally, you learn a few words in their language, their heart opens immediately. You ask them, you say, "Hello, how are you?" in the local language where you preach. And you see the effect you have on people. It makes a world of a difference. And you may say, this is a detail, this is, totally unimportant. But when Prabhupada was at Tittenhurst and he spoke with the driver of John Lennon, he spoke with him about race cars. And that man had great appreciation of Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada spoke about something that was meaningful to him. He's a driver, and this person is speaking about cars. Sanatana Goswami is speaking about cows and crops and daughters getting married and all that stuff. Now sometimes I know it seems mundane, it seems external. But sometimes preaching means not just what you say from the asana, but how you interact with the people. And the way how you interact with the people will determine in how much people will open their hearts and they will open their ears to you when you sit on the asana and you start giving the talk. Because then they just want to hear every word that you've got to say. And they're just dying to find out what it is that made this person such a wonderful person. or what makes you tick. So balance is definitely a required art, and sometimes we go off more in this side and we go off more in that side. And that's why book distribution is such a great service for my own self, because I am a radical and I'm a fanatic, I have to admit it. I can't help it. But Krishna puts me on the spot and I learn how to balance. And I feel that's one of the main messages of Bhagavad Gita, how to be balanced, how to be authentic, and see that Krishna is there in every situation, and Krishna is utilizing us, and He's utilizing each and every living entity for this mission, for this purpose. That increases my faith. Any other topic? Any other point? Maharaj, would you like to give some concluding remarks? Because I've ranted and rambled, and I don't know exactly what was the objective, the learning outcome of this class. I hope that you got inspired to carry books with you wherever you go. Books are available in most of our centers. Please make it a point, because whenever you meet that nice person and you talk and you preach to them and then you realize, whoa, I don't have any books. Did that ever happen to you? How did it make you feel?
It felt horrible. I made a recording in my voice recorder. Don't let it happen again. I was 3 or 4 nice preaching out.
You made a memo to yourself, this is a memo to myself. Never do this ever again. Run out without taking books.
It felt so good. I didn't have any pamphlets or anything. I just gave them my own email, but what comes to that?
Yeah. So I hope you got inspired. Take books with you wherever you go. Give the books to the people. And put a table with books, full set, or just Gitas. When you give Sunday feast lecture, you'd be surprised. Tell people, after the class, I'll be here to sign books. Okay? Whoever wants to get a book, I'll be happy to autograph for you. You'd be surprised how many books you will sell. So, these are just some of the methods. When Prabhupada went and he gave lecture at the college in Slippery Rocks, near to Butler, Pennsylvania, he wanted the man to take these 3 volumes of first canto. And the professor, and then Prabhupada used a technique that he said, I came all the way from India, and I brought these books all the way from India to United States for all my very special friends. Now how about that for a Sankirtan line? Do you want to be my very special friend? Huh? Now we've brought a few of these just for the very special people. And I say that. I go on the plane, I hand this book to the guy who sits next to me. I says, we're monks, we're not selling these. We just accept a donation for our travels like that. And I had literally dozens of people giving me 500 or 1,000 rupees, just like that, for a small book. Because if we value it, then they will value it. And please engage in Sankirtan, go out on Harinam. I know many of you are doing this. As much as possible, make it a regular point. Jump out, Saturday night, Sunday, whenever it's happening. If it's not happening, you make it happen. Fight a team, have a vision, make a plan, implement your strategy, find a team, empower those people, monitor them. And then you will reap so much satisfaction and so much taste and so much happiness from those people's experience. Because Sankirtan to me is the artery, it is the vital cord, it is our connection with the Parampara. It is what works. When I look at all the other stuff that we got in our movement, the management, the this, the that, the other thing, I doubt sometimes. But Sankirtan, it works. You can really see it works. The devotees are happy, the people are getting connected. And if you put Harinam and books and Prasadam, if you put that together, you got a winning combination. It's like the magic formula. It's really an amazing experience for all the participants. And we should allow each and every person in our movement and the new people to have that experience, to have that taste. Because that taste is what will carry them. That is the higher taste. That is what gives them this boost, this drive. Yes, I want to do this. Yes, I want to go to this person's class. Yes, I want to study this book. Yes, I want to become like him. Why? Because this person is happy. So we're not selling books. I always ask in my seminars, what is it that you're selling? What are you selling? Happiness. Yeah. When I see you chanting Hare Krishna, I become happy. Why? Because I see that you're happy. What are you selling? What is it? Everybody's selling something in this world. So we got to ask ourselves, what is my contribution? What am I selling? What is my gift to humanity? You may say, I'm nothing special, I'm nobody. Okay. Well then, whatever gifts we have received from the Parampara, let us just be humble instruments and just give these gifts to the people that we meet. Yes, please.
We're selling happiness in the mode of goodness.
Yeah.
We're not selling happiness in the mode of passion or happiness.
Yeah. Correct.
Feel that.
Yeah. And in this way, when we empower people and we are not monopolizing and we're not manipulating and we're not having our own agenda, but we're actually selflessly empowering people. You see, a trainer is not the most famous person in a team. Is not the one who gets the medals. It's not even the one who gets the big bucks. A trainer is the one who is happy to see other people succeed, happy to see other people score. That is his happiness. When Drona saw that Arjuna was becoming greater than himself, he felt very happy. So for me, a teacher, a guide, a mentor, a coach, a spiritual leader is not about trying to establish himself, but is about bringing everybody else up, boosting everybody else's confidence, making it about them. And that is their greatness. That is the teacher's greatness. And that's why Prabhupada is who he is. Because Prabhupada means at whose lotus feet so many Prabhus are sitting. Because he was giving everybody Krishna. So everybody took shelter of Prabhupada. Thank you for your patience and tolerance. Srila Prabhupada ki, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gautamanandi. Hare Krishna.